you. Recording this so we can send it to people who are interstate or overseas and couldn't make it today. Hi for all the people watching this at home later. Amy Whitaker is in charge of our, if you need to move your chair so you can see me, I'm so fun. I don't want anyone, I feel a couple of you reaching around, just move it wherever feels comfortable. So Amy Whitaker draws together our resident faculty, checks in with them about their approaches to class, what they're seeing, what they'd like to see more of, ideas that they have about, hey, this has been really getting some traction in my class. I'd like to, work on this being a class to camera or a concept video, or I've got an idea to do this with this and turn this into a mock audition, or ideas that they have that sit, outside the consistency of regular class taking. They would go to Amy for. She also oversees and conducts and draws together all of the assessments, which I would get a lot of questions, and in our reaching out to you, we asked if there were any questions that you were hoping you would hear answered today, and a lot of them are about what the assessments look like and is there theory, and if there is, what does that look like? So I'll touch on that and you'll hear from Amy on that as well. She also conducts our weekly professional development classes. So professional development, it's exactly what it sounds like. So in those classes with Amy, not only does she have then that focused hour and a half a week to check in if there is any assessment content or questions about what you're doing, to guide through things that need more scaffolding. She's also there to talk through things like communicating with agents, working on your resume, creating self-tape. So she starts to have that weekly check-in point. So all of those complementary skills that ride shotgun with your dance strength and your talent and your ongoing training, you're getting a touch point for all of those complementary skills weekly. And she's also there to answer any questions. Sometimes when you're all sitting there together, we realise that 10 people all have the same question or the same concern, or they've had the same trouble. So any trouble you're ever having with Google Drive or anything else, that would be the place to ask her in those questions each week. Also on our team is Chloe Craig over there, who's filming us. Chloe is our marketing manager. So she will get to know the dance as well. They all know her. She often is in and capturing footage of what we're doing in classes. She's also heavily involved in branding for all the shows that we do. That sometimes involves capturing more footage that in a more specific concept-driven way. Also photo shoots that we have, she's often around, and the dancers get to know her as well. Also on our team is Isabel Bath, who is our costumes coordinator, so the dancers will connect with her throughout the year anytime we have a costume for anything, which really starts right from the get-go. Right at the beginning of the year, every year we do a concept video within the first 4 weeks of term. So we all get in and we all reset and we all start training, and then we start working to camera straight away. And it's a good way to get the wiggles out, but also get focused for what I feel like dancers thrive on, that idea of working towards tangible goals. So getting that started straight away. So Belle oversees the style guides and all of the styling and hair inspiration boards, all of the information that has to do with how you're presenting yourself, you'll hear from Belle. We also have Bev Bonser, who is our RTO compliance and finances person. And you don't have to remember any of this, dancers. We'll go through in fine detail on your first orientation day, which is the Friday the 30th of January. We walk through what is quite a heavy volume. It's our ETTS PRO handbook. We walk through, as we are required to do, but also we like to do, so that we kind of start the year and everybody's on this exactly the same page with every process that we have and every procedure, but it's not something you have to remember because you always have that with you. And you can refer to that, gives you links to any of the forms that we ever refer to are all kind of housed in that one place. But also, you may have noticed that I'm, not shy of saying a word or two. The rest of the team are the same. We're always open and wanting to encourage you to interact with us and have conversations, come and ask questions, so that you're building that as a skill too, to be able to advocate for yourself, to be able to, so that when you're on a job later on in life or post-graduation, you feel like you can go to the company manager or to an agent or to, an audition coordinator and say, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I needed this. Is there something else that I can give you? Like developing that confidence to think of yourself as a self-employed freelance dancer is really important. So we want to be encouraging that right from the get-go as well. And Bev's role is she manages making sure that any changes there are, we report to the Australian Skills and Quality Association as a registered RTO. So any changes, sometimes there are changes in the standards, which is not the exciting part of coming to full-time, but it's an important part of you knowing that your qualification is nationally recognised. Anytime there are changes from those peak bodies, we have an RTO consultant company, Vivacity, that we work with as well, who oversees our documentation to make sure that we've updated, tweaked language at any time there are any changes, that we're staying very current. So Bev is in charge of keeping up with any of those things that need to be implemented from our part, which is very rarely anything that you would actually see or even notice as dancers coming in on the daily, but just know that that happens consistently in the background. And Bev is also, she's across all accounts things. So any accounts questions, if anything's ever not gone through, something's gone wrong, you want to change a bank account, anything like that, Bev will be the person that you see. Like I said, no need to remember it, but just I'm doing a lot of talking today, but the team is much broader than I. Also, Natalie Ettingshausen, of course, is our CEO, and she oversees the entire studio. So while you see less of her on the daily, you wouldn't put it past her to be jumping in on classes and having a look at what's going on. She's definitely someone that you will see and interact with throughout the year as well. So, moving to this kind of touches on what I was saying. We're big on communication because it's a really important part of a working dancer's life. So everything we do in the Ettingshausens Pro course is with the idea of industry preparedness and industry readiness in mind. It's not just about adding to deepening and growing the skill sets that you already come to us with. And all of your skill sets are so individual and unique and different, but of course there's an underpinning commonality between you with a passion for dance, the training that you've already had, you've all auditioned, so you're all, of a level to be offering something to the course as well as gaining something from the course. But being that everything for us is about deepening, growing those skills, but also helping you understand how to go from a student of dance only, although it's something I think every dancer hopefully stays for their entire lives. There's always going to be something new to learn and something new that's inspiring to grow with. You also eventually learn to become an asset in any room. So that shift in dynamic from being a student and taking it all in to giving back and contributing to the space, so that any space you're in is a space that someone employing dancers says, oh, I have to have Jessie. Everywhere I'm showing up, she's just there with professionalism, or Sabra, or Maya, like everywhere they are, they're bringing the energy, they'll roll with it. So if something changes on the fly, which often happens in a working dancer environment, things change. The camera angle doesn't work, the director doesn't like it, so dancers have to think really quickly and change stuff. So because we work with all of that understanding of what the industry is going to ask for, we bring that right back to talking about those personal responsibility, accountability, and also co-creativity things straight away. Our training space is a co-creative one. We will, and the teachers, some of you took classes with some of the resident faculty plus a couple of guests yesterday. The kind of people that we attract to resident faculty and invite in to be guests with us are people who are heavily invested in contributing, collaborating with and growing the next generation of working creatives. They will give whatever they have, experience, training, insights, but they can only ever do so much. You have to become ready to invest, to be co-creative, to bring what you have to offer to the space. And that's not all about putting yourself in the front row all the time. I know some dancers are like, oh, I'm confident, I've got to make sure that I show that confidence. It's about the energy you bring, it's the attention that you pay, it's taking ownership of your part in your own journey is really important, because while I'm incredibly proud of the course that we offer, and it's refined and it's informed by industry stakeholders who work at the highest levels of the Australian dance industry, taking on their feedback, their insights, having them in to work with our dancers, reflecting back to us what they see as working well, where they're seeing some missing things, helps inform how we evolve from one year to the next. That's only as powerful and impactful as the dancers are willing to go with that and step in and keep leaning in themselves as well. So communication is key. From us, you'll get a lot of communication. And we streamline it so it's not all coming at you in all kinds of different ways, although we have a number of ways that we use it. How we use them is quite specific. We have a closed Facebook page, which I believe all of you are already on, and if you're not on there at the moment, I see a couple of parents looking at the dancer going, is that you? Yep. So that we'll end up inviting, as this year comes to a close, our first years that are moving into second year will join that group, and that will become the closed Facebook group that we use going into next year. And we use our closed Facebook group for communications and information that pertain to whole group understandings or awarenesses. So it might be, we've got a guest teacher coming in next week. Here's their bio. This is what they're going to be doing with you all. So make sure you bring a heel. They've asked for everybody to be in fitted blacks for next week to get the most out of the lesson. We're also going to be filming it. That information will be there. So everyone goes, right, okay, I can see that that's on my Google Calendar, but now I've got a bit of context for what the expectations are of me, and I can prepare myself accordingly. Sometimes we might put a Google form on there that says, all right, we've got this performance coming up. We need everybody's T-shirt size. This is the size range. Please drop a comment with the size that you are, or please fill in the Google form. So any of those unified kind of everybody needs to know this, or we need a comment from everybody. At the moment, the closed Facebook group we have has been about our upcoming grad show. So there's been, back and forth in there about, okay, if you are in this item, please confirm were any props added for you in rehearsal. We want to make sure we hear from you as the dancers in the space, because while we hear from the choreographers and our assigned dance captains, you personally may have had a conversation with the choreographer that you haven't passed on to your dance captain yet. So if there's a prop that you need that we need to have ready for you to go into term 4 with, dump anything down in the thread that we haven't thought of, or here's a mood board for X, Y, and Z. Please make sure that you're having a look at that. So at the moment, it's alive with information about our grad show, so that's what happens in there. Our WhatsApp, Danielle will be a key person on WhatsApp. We use WhatsApp a lot for individual back and forth or texting to the program's phone. But WhatsApp, we'll have a second year group in WhatsApp and a first year group in WhatsApp, because sometimes there are specific information that really just needs to go to second years that we don't want to throw in here, and then people go, wait, is that me? Do I need to know that? That feels confusing. We're not ever trying to confuse anybody. But also WhatsApp, depending on the phone you have, sometimes it's easier as a group to be coming together on a WhatsApp group than it is to try and get text threads happening. It makes it really easy if we need to go to all first years, because PJ Clark from Jeep's coming in and he wants to do something specific with the first years. We can give you all that information there so that you have it. But also in terms of individual comms, if you're running late and you know you're going to be 30 minutes late to course, we have a policy of not going into the class if you're more than 10 minutes late. You are asked to come and check in with the team, which would be Danielle, rather than just walking into the class, because number one, you're probably not going to be as warm as everybody else. Number two, doesn't set up a respectful relationship between you and the teacher straight away. So we ask that you come to Danielle first and say, text her, I'm running late, my car's broken down. There's been an accident on the way here and I'm caught in traffic. Obviously don't text and drive, pull over to do that version. Hopefully that goes without saying. But if you ever have to, if you came in and Danielle was out of the office talking to somebody else and you've missed her and you need to just text her and say, I need to find you, say, I've booked a physio appointment, all I could get was 2:45 and I know that we finished at 3:30, but would that be okay if I leave at 2:45 today? Somebody needs to know when you're here and somebody needs to know when you leave. A little less like school. This is more about you and your growth. It's a little less like you're getting in trouble for non-attendance, although there is a minimum attendance that you have to meet, which is set by the Australian Skills Authority. A minimum of 85% attendance in order to qualify or achieve your qualification. Qualification was going to trip me up there words-wise. We track that, of course, but mostly it's about you being here and being in the room. It's less about being accountable to us, it's more about being accountable to yourself. We want to make sure we stay in communication though, so we're not coming over and we're like, hang on, this person was in class, Phoebe was in class in the last class, she's disappeared, nobody knows where she is. It doesn't set up good professionalism, but also we want to know where our dancers are and that they're fine. Make sure that, you're not being ill in the bathroom, that kind of thing. So we ask for communication, and that will be mostly with Danielle. And here, Google Calendar and Google Drive. We use both of those. So Google Calendar is where you'll see the schedule every week. So it needs to be a live schedule because we are incredibly fortunate to have a working faculty. What that means is sometimes, like Felicia Stav, for example, who is on our resident faculty and was teaching the last class yesterday, for those of you that still feel it in your arms and bodies, from Felicia yesterday. She teaches a beast of a class. But for example, last year she was a creative producer on, I think it was Australian Idol. So she was out for the first 10 weeks of the year, but then she's back with so much knowledge to reinvest. So we love having a working resident faculty, but it does mean that sometimes they're on a gig or they're on a casting panel or they're performing in a way that they will reinvest, but there might be changes to the schedule. When those gaps open up in the schedule, we're really fortunate with our relationships that we've built with so many creatives in the time that ETTS PRO's been running, which will be 12 years next year. But also our position in Sydney. There's often creatives coming in from overseas or being in Sydney because of a show, they've got a residency somewhere here. So we're often then able to make use of any resident faculty out moments to have incredible guests in to teach you and add to what you're already working on. So because we use Google Calendar, that's a live update. You can see that. If there ever is anything last minute though, we always pop a post up. Hey everybody, Felicia's on a casting panel today, or she's been up last night sick, so we definitely don't want her to come in, but a heads up, we've got Latin today, or we've got a guest musical theatre person coming in, so pack your heels, make sure, as much as you can, be prepared for that. On that note, we would highly recommend that you pack the kind of dance bag that prepares you for sometimes things that do change. So sometimes a class that you would normally wear a jazz shoe for, they might decide to do a heels, and sometimes that evolves from the work with you in the moment. Obviously, we prefer to be able to prepare you and know what's happening ahead of time, but it also is a good industry reflection. Sometimes you don't know what's going to happen, so making sure you pack in a way that allows you to be flexible. Sometimes a lesson will just evolve, and all of a sudden the teacher will say, you know what, I feel like this is a perfect time for you to put your chorus heels on, and let's work on that line, not just on a flat, but let's look at what that line's looking like in the mirror when you're in a heel. So it always benefits to kind of pack some flexible options in your dance bag so that you can be prepared to go with the moments when they happen, because sometimes they just evolve quite organically. Google Drive we use, as you'll hear Amy talk about it in her video, we use that as a place for resources. So at the moment, for example, we have like a separate grad folder. In our grad folder, we have for each one of the pieces being created by each one of the choreographers, we have a separate folder where all rehearsal footage goes, the latest drafts of the music, so the dancers are able to access that for rehearsals, for their own revision, all of that kind of thing. It also is where some assessment content and like a Google Classroom will exist for Amy to be able to facilitate things. What else do we do in Google Drive? Mostly a lot of folders. We also have one folder that is it's student access for learning. So there might be footage that's a rehearsal footage or it's of class footage, but there's a bunch of mistakes that people are making. It's not something we're likely to share on social media, but it might be something that you want to watch back and go, now I see that line that I was missing in that class. Okay, now I can see what it is I wanted to work on. Sometimes there'll be footage captured that we might not repurpose for sharing or promotion or shouting about, but it's still great for you to have it. Then we also have another folder that's student approved for sharing on socials. So when there is footage captured by Chloe, and sometimes we use other members of the team for video capture as well, it's sorted according to teacher in that. So you can go, cool, I can share that one if I'd like to, because I know we're in a day and age of sharing things on social media, and we want to set you up for success in that area as well. More and more people are wanting to see class reels and footage as you kind of move through the world, which you'll definitely hear from agents that we have come to visit throughout the year, and they talk to you about what's good to share, what's not, what kinds of things you should be thinking about, starting to build a collection of footage that you can put together as a portfolio as well. So Google Drive is where a lot of that kind of stuff lives. Email, of course, is our most formal communication. Most of the emails you get would be from Danielle, and in the same way that you would go to Danielle with questions, and if she doesn't have the answer for you, she knows who to ask to get it, whether that's something that needs to come from me or Amy or Isabel or Bev or Robin, who's our business manager. She will know where to get the answer or who to ask to get the information for you. So that makes it easier for you. You don't have to pick the right person. Go to Danielle and then she'll find the right person and get the answer. So most of the emails that you would get would be from her. I'll get to this in a moment, but probably a good time for a bit of a reboot of your email. Your school one, your .edu.au will cease to work likely once you've wrapped up year 12 if you're still doing year 12. So creating one now, also we've had all kinds of emails sent to us over the time. If yours is like fluffymarshmallow24 at gmail.com, maybe this is time for, a reboot and we've had some really interesting emails in time, but this is create an email that you want to use now for your working life, because for example, we have a great relationship with PJ, who heads up Deep Management, and Presley, and has taken on our dances, but he comes in as many times as a year, as hopefully at least once a term is what we try and make happen, because he has a lot of insights and a lot of experience to offer. But he has asked, the last 2 years in a row, he has asked our students to email him direct and copy in Danielle so that he can see how well you're communicating right away. And he's asked you to send answers to some questions. So he's wanting to support your growth too. We have that relationship with him, which we're very fortunate to have. But you want to be thinking about what kind of email address you want to then continue to have, because once he's got that on file and connected with you and your name, it's harder to go back and change those things. So if it's Fluffy Marshmallow, maybe change it to something else, would be my suggestion there. We also do one-to-one check-in meetings each term 1, 2, and 3. So sometimes they're with me, and sometimes they would be with Amy, Head of Education Training. They're generally like a 15-minute, where are we at, what's working, where are you feeling like you're setting yourself up for success, where would you like to be doing better, what are you enjoying, are there any pain points for you or things that you're finding. So we'd like to do those check-ins so that it also helps building relationships. We like to know, hence the name tags, we like to know you as people. Who you are as a person heavily informs who you are as a dancer. Who you are as a person is who you are as a dancer, and it's also who you are as a student to us as well. You're not a number. We want to know who you are. We want to know and embrace your unique creativity, but also teach you to build that out, support you continuing to deepen your unique brand and your signature offerings to the dance world, but also understand how to work as a group when it's required as well. Part of that is from us building a professional relationship and getting to know you, so that gives us a chance to do that. Your term 1 meeting will be with me, because I get to know everybody right from the get-go. It gets me the chance to, with our first years going into second year too, give them the chance to redefine where they're at and redefine their approach to their ongoing training. And it gives me a chance to not just rest at what I know of you from your digital auditions or your live auditions. It gives me a chance to go, okay, now you're starting as, part of the family here at ETTS PRO Fam. So that gives me a chance to go, okay, how's it feeling? SOAR is usually high on the list when everybody gets started with the intensity of 5 days. Really important, an email that will come out to you in the next couple of weeks. Just gets you, one will be about ID cards, so that you need to make sure that we've got the information from you that you want to use for your student IDs. If we get that in a timely manner, we can have those ready to hand out at orientation day. I know we need to see formal photo ID, which is probably something you're all prepared for and have been doing at school anyway, but we need that on that day. But an authority to release, because you're coming to us as an equivalent of like a tertiary study. You've exited school now and our primary relationship will be with you. The authority release, there's a few different levels there, and depending on what's checked for you as a dancer will determine, we're not in the habit of reaching out to your parents. Like I said, we're building the relationship with you, but there have been a couple of times where I've had a parent call. There's been, obviously something in the family that they want to make sure that we're aware of. There are times when I can't speak to a parent or divulge any of the information about attendance, personal information, financial, or academic information, because it hasn't been checked on the authority to release, which of course is an important confidentiality umbrella that we work under. So that'll be coming out soon, and just something to have a conversation about as a family to work out what that will look like. Often parents have a financial stake, so a lot of the time, financial, academic, those kinds of things, many of our students also have full release as well, so that they're happy if their parent happens to call. We can then converse with you about the bits and bobs. So, being that we're all here together in this moment, I've got a few dates, because I feel like people come at me straight away and go, what dates do I need to know about? For those of you that are interested in coming to our grad show this year to kind of get a taste of what it's all about, that's on Tuesday, November 25 in at NIDA, in at Kensington. Our ETTS PRO Summerfest is a 3-day version of what we did yesterday. So it's kind of a nice preparer for the intensity of 5 days. But that's 9 till 3:30 each day. We do a summer workshop, an ETTS PRO summer workshop. 2 of the teachers I've confirmed already are James Fenwick and Alex Majinski. but that will continue to build out. So that's something to think about, especially if you're relocating to be closer to where we are. Orientation day will be Friday the 30th of January. And like I said, we go through our chunky handbook. It's a little bit dry, but we mix it up with, I do quizzes, I throw lollies. We mix it up. We kind of keep everybody moving around. I saw a few faces light up at the mention of the lollies. But it's important. It's a really important document for us to all be across. Light the Way next year is from Thursday the 4th of June until Sunday the 7th of June. We attend Light the Way as a full cohort. So if you're not familiar with what Light the Way is, it's a huge dance convention that happens out at Rudy Hill. Is everyone familiar with Light the Way? Does anyone not know what I'm talking about? So we attend as a full cohort. The cost of your ticket is covered by the fees that you pay in the performance fee. So you don't need to purchase a ticket to it. We all go. It's really important to road test your skills. We know that our teachers are incredible. We know that our approach and the way that we support everybody is important to us. But if you're only ever here and you start to get, no matter how many times we mix up who you're dancing with, whether it's all the first years, the second year separate, sometimes we mix you up and it's a mixture of first and second years, and then we change that combination again, so you're getting the chance to not get too comfortable, but also to connect with different people in the wider cohort. There's still nothing like taking your skills, road testing them in amongst a group of the dancers that you'll likely audition and work alongside in your future, being in that room. And we use it as it's June, it's halfway through the year, we use it as a chance not to measure your progress, but to notice what you're doing. Right, okay, I felt amazing in this class, and that class I totally dropped choreography as soon as I got to that small group. I realised that, for me, I'm working with a mindset block here. We also are bringing on board next year, speaking of mindset, mindset and goals coach that you'll work with every week. Sophie Carter is incredible. She's got a lot of experience in the performing arts industry as well. She's been working semi-regularly with our cohort this year and is available to come on board and work weekly. So she does a lot around resilience and reframing and goals, and will help you make sure that you are continuing to update, reality check, reframe, because there are some incredible highs, but there are also learning moments as well. What we like to do is go to Light the Way as a full cohort, notice what's working, what's not working, but it also gives you that it's a bit of a kick in the pants if I'll say it that way, to come back in and go, right, this is what I noticed I'm doing in the space, this is where I'm standing, this is the energy that I feel like I am bringing or not bringing, so that then you have that nice little reality check halfway through the year to help inform the next step that you take and what continues to inspire you from there. Our ETTS PRO grad showcase next year, we're just in the process of confirming dates with NIDA at the moment. They don't confirm usually until end of October, November, because they've got to work it around their own NIDA courses, but we're literally talking to them about our dates, and we're talking at around the same time. Once we've locked that in, we'll be able to talk about what the last day of full-time. Some people, especially if they're moving and relocating and setting up leases and things, some people ask me, as of now, what's the finish date next year? We work it around once we know what when grad show is, because obviously that will inform the length of that term 4, depending on when we position it. So there are some dates before your ETTS PRO journey officially begins. And also, if you're not taking notes or trying to write it down, fine, I'm going to send all these slides to you anyway. Email address, no fluffy marshmallow would be my hot recommendation. Make sure that bank accounts wise, whatever bank account you're planning to use, which Bev will also communicate about too, needs to permit direct debit, so that the Easy Pay system can, we just noticed sometimes that trips people up at the beginning of the year, and certain accounts don't permit that. All of you would know your USI, but for anybody who's watching at home and coming in from New Zealand, you can only apply for a USI once you're here on Australian soil. But we need to have that. Accommodation, a lot of people ask me about, for those who are moving from further afield and wanting to be closer, we don't have any specific accommodation, but we also, hello. A few students are arriving early for their chat session with you, or maybe it's just that I'm long-winded. I think it's probably that. So we don't have any specific accommodation that we do recommend, but also everybody's so different, so what we might think feels good doesn't always feel like the right fit for all of you. So what we like to do is help you facilitate this kind of connection, both on the Facebook group, and some of you, might not know the people on the Facebook group. So some of you are like, oh, hi Jade, want to move in? Might feel a little bit presumptuous right from the get-go, but some people have made that work. So, I'm not the one to say that works or that doesn't work, but so many of our students have met each other at this kind of time of year, found a connection, worked out, okay, I think we can live together, we can work that out, found somewhere, the Guy, Kirrawee, Miranda, Sutherland, Janelli, they're all local to this area, which of course if you live in Sydney you would be familiar with, and if not, they're all close to train stations and very accessible to here. Generally speaking, while there are no guarantees, the Sutherland Shire is a family-oriented place. Walking from here to South Village or to the Kirrawee train station is something that many students do. And you'll always be in the daylight hours as well, so it's, but also post 3:30, the Ettingshausens youth classes go through till 8:30 or 9 anyway, so even if you stayed back and booked a studio to work on self-tape or something that you're working on, which is something that you can do, as an ETTS PRO student, it's not like it completely vacates. What I would suggest too is, while we do tend to have a large footprint and a louder footprint than most of the businesses around here, there are other businesses, and the reason I say that is dancers are super comfortable running around in a crop top and a pair of shorts, but we generally don't recommend just wandering around other businesses to just, wearing what dancers are comfortable in, because half the time we look half clothed, which we all get comfy with, but probably not appropriate around the other businesses. So we make sure we flag that next year too. But Danielle has just recently renewed contacts with a number of real estate agents in the area. They've all suggested what we've known from the past, that rentals, if that's what you're looking for that sort of mid-January period, won't really become available until towards the end of this year. So we've asked that what they do have, they send to us so we can share with you. Also, we'll send a link to a Shire rentals page.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we'll share that resource as well. Also, we've got, for example, a couple of our second year students who are graduating and moving out into the industry have said, oh, my household's changing because so-and-so's got a cruise and they're going overseas, so we've got a room in our house. All of those things that we'll share. Now, obviously, they might be the right fit for some of you and not the right fit for others, all of which is fine. We're here and happy to have any of those conversations. What I would suggest, if you are going to be looking for a rental, and you might not be obviously actioning that until the next couple of months, is get your personal and professional references sorted now from people in your circle, places that you work, so that you can be ready to go. We can provide a letter too saying that you're intending, we're obviously very well known in the area as a facility and for our professionalism. And while we can't write individual references for everybody because we don't have the history with you, we can say that this is where you're intending to study and train next year as a point of reference for somebody as well. What else was I getting to? Work-wise too, a lot of people say, is there any, I obviously want to relocate and keep earning money so that I can do my adulting and buy my groceries, which is new for many, which I completely understand. And while everybody is, as I said to somebody yesterday, different boats, all in the same ocean. There's a lot of students that are relocating and figuring out, oh, I'm really bad at cooking, but I'm great at doing the cleaning. So they work out what the dynamic is in that household as they go. Actually, Anna, one of the students that's coming in to chat in a minute, I feel like her household at some point, they all went in and got HelloFresh. They must have figured out that there wasn't a lead cook in that house, so they were getting a delivery between them. Work-wise, if you are needing to relocate, get your work references now. If you're teaching at the studio that you're at, make sure you get references and ask either the lead teacher or the studio owner if they would be your referee, because in the local area, we actually get lots of dance studios coming to us and saying, we love having your graduates, they've got integrity, they're professional, they always represent well. Do you have anybody that can teach tap? I'm looking for a tap teacher, or I'm looking for contemporary, or I'm looking for a guest teacher. We find that a lot of people do come to us, which obviously says wonderful things, so we will absolutely pass names along, or I'll put those opportunities as they come in the closed Facebook group when there are teaching opportunities, or sometimes it's promo work or suit work or something like that people come to us for throughout the year, which can be good for like a weekend pop-up job that usually, especially those promo and being the Easter Bunny or the Easter Bunny's hosts and things at Easter, they tend to pay quite well as well. So getting your work references and stuff like that organised now. Then there's a couple of local, like Help I Need a Teacher, and there's a couple of local dance teacher Facebook groups, which if you're not in, you would be able to get into and say that you're moving to Sydney, relocating as a student at Ettingshausens Pro, which will put you in good stead. And a lot of the times people will go there as well to source to. So if you were looking for teaching work in terms of work, there's lots, because being a family, grocery stores, cafes, there's lots of those in the local area. If you are wanting to work in hospitality once you're 18, you obviously need your RSA. I would suggest, I know some of you are not 18 yet, but if you are wanting to teach, you need an ABN, which is fine for you to get, but the second that you turn 18, you'll need a Working with Children check as well. And they last for 5 years. I feel like it's $110. Get it from Services New South Wales, and it lasts you for 5 years, but you won't be able to teach anywhere that there are children without one of those. That includes Ettingshausens. So you'll definitely need to have one of those as well. Anybody got any questions so far? Am I speaking too fast? The more excited that I get, the faster I go. But I just wanted to touch on, these are some of the key areas that we do get questions. The ETTS PRO training journey, we get questions about the structure and the look and feel of it too. So we do work to the New South Wales school terms. So those are in the enrolment supplement, or you can just Google them really fast and find what those are. 5 days a week in first year, 4 days a week in second year. So in second year, it's Monday to Thursday, because we like to think of it as a bit of a bridge year into the industry. So Friday is often when there are rehearsals and gigs and things like that. So we want to support our second year dancers to be building and transitioning their connections that they make and the relationships they build with the teachers, choreographers in the room, into making the time for them to take up opportunities outside of the studio space too. 8:30 till 3:30, which really permits good timing, but also permits work post-course as well. Teaching elsewhere, most classes locally anyway at studios don't usually start until 3:45 would be the earliest. Most are around 4 and 4:15, because traffic, I feel like traffic everywhere is on the uptick, but traffic in this area, we don't start our youth classes until 4:30, because sometimes I live at Cronulla, which is just at the beach. My daughter goes to school at Cronulla Public, and getting from there to here can take us a ridiculous 40 minutes sometimes in the school zone time. So us finishing at that time, it's not so much about you needing to be somewhere in terms of your own, schooling. It's the navigating of the local traffic to get where you want to be to work and what have you as well. Most days, that looks like 4 hour-and-a-half classes. 8:30 till 10, 10:15 to 11:45, 11:45, 12:15 is your lunch break, 12:15 to 1:45, and then 2 till 3:30. So there's a 15-minute break morning and afternoon that allows for food and refueling and hydration. Also a quick costume change. I don't know any dancer that wants to take hip hop in their ballet attire, so it does allow you to not miss any class time and quickly allow for you showing up, dressed for the appropriate genre as well. There are times when the days change. When we're doing acting and singing, what we generally do is break into slightly smaller groups. So the classes might only be, say, an hour long, but we might have 3 classes in that hour. In the afternoon, for example, 3 one-hour classes with acting and singing, and perhaps a second ballet lesson. So in terms of the general structure of the week, the first years do at least 2 ballet lessons a week, plus Pilates, plus a focused tech class, which is, there's no choreography in that class. It's just about making sure you refine and continue to take on what you may have taken from classes that are more choreography based, but there still might be technical things you're like, I really want to come back to that because I've noticed I'm slacking. Your tech classes are where you can focus on those things. Also a fitness class as well. So we're getting show fit right from the beginning of the year, but also Alex Majinski and Neil Whitaker are our resident faculty contemporary teachers, although Alex's style verges contemporary lyrical, depending on what story she's telling at any particular time. Jacob Yar and Stella Vai are our 2 hip-hop teachers, very different, both with a wealth of experience to offer. Stella was one of our teachers who was off for a little bit last year because she was creative director and choreographer for Tones and I tour. So she's come back with so much information to share with dancers about the dancers who auditioned for her too. Even things like that, like this is what read, this is what worked, this is what she noticed. So it's amazing when they can reinvest. Jazz-wise, we have Kat Ralph for Broadway jazz. We have Jess Smithson for There's all your arm choreo guys from yesterday. Jess Bisson for commercial, Felicia Stav, whose style can range. That's why some of those first years that are going to second, you would have seen them looking at Felicia yesterday like, what's the attire? She can do as most of our teachers can, she can do the full span. So you're never quite sure what you're going to get from Felicia class, but she'll let you know. And then also first years have a 3-hour class with Maddie Owen on a Friday. And sometimes that'll be a project that we're working on. Sometimes she might be listening to what's going on in the rest of the classes and make it a focus. Sometimes she'll work on jazz across the eras, but it's a 3-hour class that she breaks up, informed by what else is going on in the week. But sometimes it might be 2 hours of tech and then an hour of combo. Sometimes it might be an hour of, warm up and then 2 hours on a combo, depending on what it is. Sometimes we might do class to camera and slow the class way down and talk about working the camera angles. What am I missing? Tap. We grade for tap and ballet. So we'll ask you, I don't know if we have already, but we will. Ask you to nominate whether you think you would be in more of an intermediate or an advanced ballet class, and the same with tap. We still grade, so you nominate yourself and then we put you in the room with the teachers and they will confirm whether they think you are or aren't in the right class, and we go from there. And ballet you will take as first year cohort, and then tap will be combined. So it's a combined first and second year scenario. So some of you might be in intermediate class with the second years. Some dancers come to us with no tap experience, which is fine. We ask for the openness to learn. Some of you come in with a wealth of ballet training. Others have done a lot of jazz technique, but not as much ballet, depending on what your studio focus was, which we completely embrace and understand. We're about, term 1, speaking of the structure of our terms, term 1 for us is the energy of reset. We kind of loosely term it a foundations term. It's you setting yourself up in the space. It's us building a foundational relationship with all of you, you building that with all of the teachers. It's not so much that foundations from a place of you learning to dance. Clearly you are here, so you already know how to do that. It's more about that energy of reset and also letting go of some of the preconceptions you have about yourself when you come in. I'm sure if I spoke to every one of you right now, you could tell me what you're known for at your studio. It might be your style, it might be your right leg, maybe it's how you turn. Are you a flipper? You tend to ground down into who you think you are, but also heavily into who you think you're not. We want to shake all of that off, because what you know about yourself as a dancer, we don't want you to throw out, but we want you to embrace that there's a lot more for you to learn about who you are and the skills that you have, which is what full-time is about. Deepening the skills you already have and then blowing out the walls on where you think your limits are and finding new. So term 1 is loosely termed foundations. Term 2 is style, and that's across all the genres. So every teacher interprets that individually for their different, genres. I know Stella started off with some going right back into house grooves and making sure that's not just about learning shapes in hip hop, it's about understanding where it came from and what you're asking for in your body. So every teacher kind of interprets that. Doesn't mean you don't learn any combos. You're learning combos from day one. It's more that idea of we're not making assumptions about you and you're not making assumptions about yourself. Everybody has that opportunity to come in and reset themselves in the space. Term 2 is more about you getting by style. It's mostly about, yes, the teachers will be teaching you style right from the beginning, but it's about you developing your own personal style. It's about you taking ownership of starting to really lean into what your unique strengths are. Term 3 becomes a real focus on performance quality when we hit the end of week 7 in term 3, weeks 8, 9, and 10 become grade rehearsal period. So we abandon the regular schedule and every day is structured according to prioritising grad rehearsals. So obviously everybody isn't in every routine in the grad. That would be an impossible show to put together because we'd be spending 15 minutes changing, waiting for everyone to change the whole time. So we arrange the schedule according to prioritising those rehearsals, and if you're not in a rehearsal, you're still in class, so that everybody is maintaining their show fitness. And then term 4 becomes a complete focus on grad. The reason we do that is we want our graduation showcase experience and show to reflect as closely as possible a professional level show. So it's themed. The way that we have a rehearsal director, there are dance captains and assistant dance captains nominated by the choreographers for each piece. The way that we conduct it, the way that you understand that the lighting works, and all of those things are created to closely reflect what you will see and experience in the working dance well. This is a bit hard to read, but this is what people asked me to see. So this was our timetable from week 1 this year. Do you want to shake it out for a bit? Do you want to stand up and shake your legs? I promise I'm not speaking to you for too much longer. I'm seeing all the dancers go, oh, I feel the need to, like, I don't know, pop a muscle in the hip. Yeah, I get it, especially if you danced yesterday. I see the back twists. I understand the back twist. I really do. So just quickly, because this is often what I am asked, what does a week look like? Everything in green at the beginning of term 1 was a first year only. So we started the year, as you can see, with a lot of first year only classes. The turquoise was where it was a combination of first and second years. That decreases as term 1 goes on. We think it's important to let first years get in the space, figure out who you are, shake the nerves off before we combine you with the second years. By the same token, that because second years are also here training, but they have done a first year, we want to give them that chance to not start from scratch with some of the things. And also it gives the teachers a great way to meet you and start working with you, but not try also to cater to the people they've known for a year. So we separate to start with, not like exclusively, and it's not like you can't talk to anybody. It's not quite that extreme, but we do that to let you get in the room. So, you know, for example, you can see here that there was intermediate ballet. Well, there was a ballet grading because it was week 1. The other half of that ballet class had Latin with Holly Shields. And first years had Latin every second week opposite their ballet, whereas the second years had Holly at the beginning of the year every week. Then Pilates while the advance was in. So there was a switch up of whether it was Pilates or Latin at the beginning of the year. And then we had Acro and Aerial in the afternoon, followed by a session on PD with Amy. Down here, this was the slot that Felicia Stav had, which is why the colour is slightly different, because Tiggy Trelaw was in here as a guest. And that was opposite Sella. And then the afternoon, you could see that there was Commercial Heels with Chantel Landayan, and also Broadway Jazz with Kat Ralph. So each one of these obviously represents a day, and the orange was where we had second year classes. Wednesday, it was Neil, and then Jacob, and then Alex and Jess. Wednesday was no small day, my friends. It was no small day for sure. Jackson Reedman is our resident musical theatre faculty, and then it was TAP, or the other way around. And then this was the breakup into 1 hour groups. Like I mentioned earlier, it was, depending on which ballet group you were in, it was an hour of ballet, an hour of group singing, and then an hour of acting with Christy Wright, who is incredible. And then you can see Friday is just first years, so we split you into 2 groups. It was tech opposite fitness, and then a massive 3-hour block with Maddie Owen to dive into all the things from the week. So that's just a snapshot. I don't think any week looked the same, because of the different moving parts that there are. And also any time that there's a teacher out, we don't just throw somebody in. We think about, okay, what are we trying to achieve? What are we hearing from the teachers? Where is there a need to maybe add a different voice, get a different guest perspective? This is the other question we get a lot about, which is what assessments look like. So I'm just going to turn this way because it makes it a little bit more audible, so you can hear from Amy about our assessment.
Hi, my name is Amy. I'm the Head of Education at Ettingshausens Pro. In a sentence, my role is to ensure that all students meet the required outcomes to earn either their Diploma of Dance or their Advanced Diploma of Dance. At Ettingshausens, we assess each student's competence in a number of ways throughout the year, based on the requirements set out for us by the Australian Skills and Qualifications Framework as a registered training organisation, as well as the expectations held by agents, choreographers, and other industry professionals that our students will go on to work with during their career. We're in constant connection and communication with industry professionals who share information about the skills and knowledge and working professional dancer needs in the Australian dance industry, as well as globally. As a part of each student's orientation at the beginning of the year, they will be taken through their Google Calendar. They will have one that shows their daily schedule of classes, as well as a calendar for their assessment tasks. They will also be introduced to Accelerate, the online learners portal where students will access detailed information about their assessments and submit their written work. The written work seems to be the part that most students are apprehensive about. As dancers, we thrive in learning environments where we can learn through moving and through talking to each other. For some, writing can be a challenge or just something they prefer to keep to a minimum. We completely understand this and have tailored our classes and associated assessments to be as practical as possible under the ASQA guidelines. If a student needs additional support, we will meet with them and provide additional assistance as required. No two students are the same, and our goal is to make sure that everyone can proudly achieve their qualification. For some of my favourite assessments during the year, I get the opportunity to collaborate with the ETTS PRO faculty to work on audition technique, temporary tumbling and partner work. The highlight for me most years is watching students show their unique creative voice in their choreography assessments. Sometimes these are performed live in class, other times they're filmed and submitted online. Submitting content across different mediums helps students understand the ways in which we need to deliver content to agents and casting panels during our career. I love connecting with students in weekly professional development classes. This is the space where we work towards completing assessments, but also provide students with the space to ask about the business side of being a performer. For example, how to approach and have a conversation with an agent. To commence a course with ETTS PRO, you are required to have a USI. A student may already have one, or they can apply for one for free. Information will be provided on how to do this. It is also important for you to have your own laptop to work from during the year. You'll be required to bring this to your PD classes as well as some other classes and workshops throughout the year. If you would like more information about what units students will be studying at ETTS PRO, please refer to your prospectus. More detailed information can be found on training.gov.au if you would like to take a deeper dive into what outcomes will be assessed. The faculty at ETTS PRO are focused on career readiness, and this extends to the tasks they need to complete to earn their qualification. As a team, we strive to build confidence and enhance each student's knowledge about the wider dance industry, in addition to improving their dance ability.
Amy Whitaker. So what she was talking about in terms of assessments, if you do have a look at our prospectus, you'll see that there's a units of competency page, which some of you have got digitally anyway. We don't structure our timetable and our classes around, oh, this is a class that's focusing on this unit of competency. We structure our classes on what we know you need to prepare for the industry, and then Amy works to holistically assess those units of competency. So there might be something about physical conditioning, which she partially takes from a contemporary class, partially takes from something that you're doing in Pilates, and then also is informed by the jazz warm-up that you're consistently doing with one of, like Felicia, say, in class. So rather than create a schedule that speaks specifically to those units that we check off to achieve your qualification, we work holistically from the other perspective, focusing on classes that mimic expectations in the industry and then holistically assessing from there. Does that make sense? So if you want to know what units we use, those ones in the prospectus. I feel like I've covered most of this by saying, you know, we're about individual growth and in a team environment, as is perfectly suited to the kind of industry you're going into, where casting panels, agents, people auditioning and wanting dancers to work for them don't want to hire a carbon copy of the dancer next to you. They want to see that there's something individual and unique about you. Otherwise, every audition ever would have just like robots where everybody looks the same. But it's about understanding when you should be personalizing things and when things need to be, you know, working at a more unison level, when you need to hit that line and there can't be too much personalization or individuality or flair. So part of the training is understanding when and where those moments are, and how even within something, you know, working for a choreographer, let's say New Ground Collective, who is Mitchell Woodcock and Lauren Seymour. Lauren Seymour's actually choreographing for our grad this year, which is very cool. The dancers in that piece getting a close-up chance to see what a New Ground Collective rehearsal space looks like. But, you know, Mitchell Woodcock's lines are really specific and really detailed, same with the squared division whenever they're back in Australia as well. So it's about learning that what they're looking for is an ownership and a confidence and a presence, but they want everybody's arm and eyebrow to be exactly where it's meant to be. So it's about understanding what those things are and who the people hiring dancers are in the industry, and then starting to build that kind of the kind of experience and skill set that you can draw from in your body to meet those kinds of expectations without ever changing who you are, because it's not about that. It's about staying who you are, but being able to lend yourself to the different working spaces as a dancer. Everything from the way that you sign in, which is a QR code, you've probably seen them up on the walls. It's a QR code sign in. We want you to be signing in. We might start by chasing you to sign in at the beginning of the year, but we won't continue to do it all year because at some point that has to be a responsibility that you take ownership of, so that it's exactly what will be expected of you if you're on a job or in a cruise, on a cruise ship or in a musical. You'll be expected to take on those things. We've got an injury register if anyone's injured. If you're sitting out of class, you've got to complete the injury register so that we know that you sat out of class. We can then help reflect back to you, hey, we've noticed that seems to be in this class every week. What is it about the injury that you've had or have going on for you at the moment that you think is niggling that injury? Because we're able to see that. Maybe you could take that to your physio and get some more information about that. So everything from the way that we frame each term, we've got a PRO code, which is our values of belonging, inclusivity, respect, joy and growth. We operationalise those for the faculty, for the team, and also from the students. So operationalise is just a fancy way of saying we talk about what they look like in action. So they're not just words on a wall somewhere. We talk about what does that look like when we are living and breathing, and it's a lived experience. And the teachers obviously have their own version of that too. But I feel like the Ettingshausens graduates are known for, Ettingshausens Pro graduates, I should say, are known for not just their talent, they're also known for their integrity and their professionalism as well, which to me are equally important as the ability to shine on a stage, because you might get hired once on your talent, but if you're not good to work with, if you don't have respect for everybody involved, whether it's the person getting the the coffees for the choreographer, the assistant, the person who checks people in at the door, if you don't have that awareness of the bigger picture and everybody that plays a part, if there's not integrity and ownership and accountability in you too, you probably won't get hired again. Because there are lots of dancers with something to offer, but not all of them understand they've got to translate that into an employable skill set. We're about creating a training experience that gives you the chance to practice that. And throughout the year, there are, Light the Way is definitely one, Grad Showcase is definitely one. We've been fortunate that almost every year, if not every year, we have a huge role in the Ronald McDonald House Charity Gala Ball. Try saying that really fast. Every year I have to spell that out for myself. But there are also there are things that change and move every year. Like last year we had a show that we were a part of in term one. This year that same show is not appearing until 2 days after grad. So we've got a show coming up that some of our dancers, it'll be a tap number. So obviously anyone who started as a beginner tapper might not put their hand up to be considered for that one. It might be more of the advanced tappers, but there are different shows and opportunities and balls and live performances. We often do like videos and stuff as well, because obviously dance on camera is a huge thing, and into the future as well. So every year there are some staple opportunities, and then there are lots of pop-ups that we lean into. Sometimes there are things that pop up that, fall within school holidays. So those things, when they come up or someone approaches us for, would your dancers like to be part of this? Sometimes it's about who's available. Obviously, a lot of the performances that we do externally are on a weekend or in the evenings, not generally during course hours. So it becomes a case of us coming to the dancers first and saying who's available and or could make themselves available. Then we can talk about what that could look like. So really, I feel like this is a great moment to bring Anna and Izzy in, if they're both here. Because really, one of the things I get asked a lot too is what can I do now? And some of this information is also taken from surveys that we do throughout the year of what our current students maybe wish they'd thought of before they started full-time, because obviously then they're partway into it. This one was one of the top ones. Keeping my physical, come in. Hi Izzy, hi Anna. Hello everybody. I was just saying I've reached my slide. Shocker that I'm still talking. You were supposed to come in 15 minutes ago. They know I hate to talk. I'm not passionate at all. We've just reached my final slide, which is talking about how you can set yourself up for success before full-time starts. So Izzy, when did you graduate? Last year?
Yeah, last
year.
year.
So yeah. Izzy graduated last year. You'll see her. Oh, wait. There she is. That's Izzy in the middle with a hand up. I feel like you're in a prospectus somewhere too. And then Anna is in our first year this year and is moving into second year next year, which is very exciting. So Izzy is originally from New Zealand and Anna is originally from South Australia. So I guess I would like to ask you a couple of things to share with the group too. And if you have any questions, I feel like obviously I haven't left a lot of room for those so far because I've had a lot to say and share with you that I felt was important. But if you do have any questions that will be good for the ladies, I'll get you to ask them. But these are some of the things I feel like too, which maybe I could get you two to speak to for a couple of minutes too. This was the top one I was saying in the survey that I did with all of the current cohort. What do you wish before you'd started that maybe you'd spent some more time doing? Physical condition and fitness. Well, I think who came to the workshop yesterday? A few of you came to the workshop and your body's like, woo, after some downtime. That's kind of multiplied after the 6-week break that we usually get over the Christmas holidays. So I think probably that answer is a result of the huge break that we have in Australia over the Christmas and summer, and then everyone comes in on day one and they're like, oh, plie, ow. So things that obviously you've gotten conditioned and maintained momentum for. So I would highly recommend staying moving, however you do that. Maybe you walk at the beach, maybe you run laps, maybe you take open class. That came up a lot to here, like getting into some open classes before you're back in the space so that you're not coming in with just the very recent experience of maybe being here or being at your home studio. And obviously there'll be some bittersweet moments of graduation for many of you from your home studios as you leave school and move on to full-time. But getting back into classes before the start of full-time, just so that you don't, I feel like some point you always start and you're like, have I ever danced before? Like that first day can sometimes feel like that. Like surely I'm here for a reason. I do know my right from my left, but sometimes that can pop up. If you've had or have any injuries, like term 4 is a huge performance term for most dancers, no matter where you are or what training you're doing. So if any injuries pop up or are niggling, get them checked, get a physio. Depending on if you do have any injuries, depending on the nature of those, we'll ask you to have them checked before you start full-time. We want clearance from your physio if there's something that you've had or you've had a surgery in the past. We want to know that your body, not just your heart being ready to dance, because that's a given. Your heart and your head, dancers are very determined that they're fine, but we want to make sure that a person who's an expert on bodies gives you the go-ahead too before you're here 5 days a week. This we're going to talk about a little bit later once the parents go get coffee and we hang out together. Dancers, a little bit of letting go of your stories and setting your goals, because I feel like a lot of us come in with stories of who we are and who we think we're not into full-time, and then setting goals that are healthy ones for the year. And this will be another one, preparing your circle of support. The people that, especially if you're moving for full-time, knowing who you're going to check back in with, who's going to, on the days that, fall apart because you fell out of a single pirouette or you forgot, 4 counts of choreography. Some days, depending on where you are as a human on that day, that can feel devastating. When we're like, oh, that was terrible, I blew that class. And you guys are both, yes, I blew that class because I missed that last arm line. No, you probably didn't blow the class. Sometimes it feels that big. It's knowing who your circle of support, who are going to be your touchstones so that you can call them and be like, okay, reality check me here. I forgot an arm. Is my dance career over? Maybe it's your mum's going to be like, no. Take a deep breath and move on. Who is that for you? Get those people in place. If there's a mentor at your home studio that you're like, can I check back in with you next year? Chances are they'll check in on you because I know how dance teachers work and they're passionate. Let's jump in. Can I ask you, what did you both think coming into full-time? What do you wish that you'd thought about or maybe prepared for a little differently?
Definitely the weather change.
Right.
I was struggling in the first week. Like, I was sweating head to toe.
Amelia, that was you yesterday.
Yeah, crazy. Summer here gets crazy, especially in these studios. So I'd just be mentally prepared to endure that. And also, I did do a few classes before I started, but I wish I didn't wait till like the week before of full-time to like do that. Because obviously it's different. It's a different change from junior school, just doing it after school. Like straight off the bat in the morning, you're doing ballet or some hardcore commercial class. So
8:30 before school start time. Yeah.
You're like, okay, this is what I needed to be doing before I came in. But that is like my two
top
things.
Yeah. Anna?
I guess even on that note, dancing full-time is so much different to dancing after school. Even if you're doing the obviously you haven't been walking around school or whatever the whole day, so it needs to take a minute to warm up. So I definitely recommend going to as many classes and things as you can before coming into full-time during the day. I also would say learn to cook and meal prep beforehand. Yeah, because I'm a terrible cook. I still am, but I've gotten much better. But definitely knowing how to feed yourself and fuel your bodies, because obviously you're going through a lot of fitness and different ways your body's moving. So fuel your bodies very well, I would say.
Nice. Okay, I would love to hear a little bit about moving, because you both moved from full-time from a different place. I know what I see through the lens of my, I consider myself at level 4 of life, in my 4th decade of life. But it's a very different experience when you're moving straight out of school. What did you both find challenging? How did you overcome it? And then looking back, what would you reassure yourself with now that you've done it and you're living it and you're doing it?
Well, for me, since I moved from New Zealand, I had someone else who came to ETTS also from New Zealand, so I joined with her trying to find maybe one more person, and depends how many people you want to live with. It is difficult to kind of like get together and find that other person to live with, so I'd sort that out if you are moving out of state or out of the country, like now, before the summer break, because it does get really stressful, especially trying to find somewhere that to rent, because it is quite difficult.
So knowing who you're going to live with makes it easier, so you're good to go with your application, I guess, too.
And I would say just ask your parents for help. Don't do it all yourself. That is the easiest way to not stress out about it, get it sorted before the summer break, and start looking at places. And if you can, what I did before I came in for first year, my friend from New Zealand, she came and watched the grad over here and also looked at properties herself in person, and it just makes it like a way easier process. And I feel like if you're moving, just get where you're living out of the way, and then worry about everything else, because that was the most stressful thing for me.
I think it's probably the thing that parents worry about too. Would be, as a parent, but I have a 6-year-old, it's a little bit different.
And definitely look into somewhere that's maybe in walking distance or close to public transport, because I lived in South Village in my first year and it was very convenient for me to walk.
South Village is just at Kirrawee, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's just a walk up.
Since I didn't have a car at the time, so it was easier transport-wise, just to wake up in the morning and not have to wake up super duper early if you're not a morning person like me. So
I live in South Village and I still
See? You probably started with the idea of I'll walk, and then that's fallen off. What about you, Anna? You moved from South Australia.
Well, so I can't really talk much on the roommate situation because I was very fortunate enough to live on my own this year. But I think I was very worried doing so. And even if you were with roommates, just making friends and having a support network that you can build, obviously because you won't have your family with you if you're moving. But I found that a lot of us that did move, we ended up living around somewhere in the Shire. So knowing we had each other and kind of going through that experience of moving away from home together was really nice, because we just do things on the weekend or have each other to fall back on. But definitely, even if you can't do too much with looking for apartments, because I know some of them can only pop up a month or 20 days beforehand, so it can get tricky, but just start to get that ball moving now, because you never know what problems can occur.
Yeah, building relationships with the real estate agents and the local rental
and I know with
contacts.
South Village, the ones that have mine, I don't really call it the tenants or whatever, it's through Ray White, and they're literally across the road, so if I ever lock myself out, which I have accidentally done twice, I just go down across the road, so that's been really handy.
Top tips from Anna, everybody. Top tips. Okay, what about the training experience? Is it what you expected? And then and were you what you expected when you came into the space too?
Yes and no. I knew what I was getting myself into, but when I actually did it, I was very taken back about how much physically and mentally prepared you have to be every day to do the classes. That was my biggest thing that I just wasn't I feel like I wasn't mentally prepared to like handle all the dance classes like throughout the whole day, and then like go home, then have to cook my dinner, and then at the end of the week clean my clothes, and then have maybe one day rest in the weekend, and then do it all over again the next week. It got easier after term 1. I honestly think my problem was the heat though. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Very sweaty, and all I wanted was an ice block at the end of the day. But yeah, I was prepared, but when you actually do it, it does take you back a little bit, and you have to go back home and mentally prepared for the next day. And what Anna said, like meal prep your meals, because you're not going to want to do it at the end of the day. Wake up and I'm always a person, oh no, I'll do it in the morning, and I never do it in the morning. So get all those like little stuff prepared, pack your bag the night before. There's so many like instances where like I forget to put something in my bag because I was too tired the night before and I thought I was going to do it in the morning. So it's just those little stuff. Prepare your bag, prepare your meals, what you're going to do that day. Schedule your day as well if you're working as well after full time, because it does get a little bit crazy, and definitely don't overload yourself as well. Have a day to rest, because you definitely will need it before starting each week.
To be able to make the most of it too.
Yeah.
And who did you think you were as a dancer before you started?
I was very like a competitive dancer doing competitions back in New Zealand, so I was just in like the headspace that I was in a different headspace to what full-time is. Full-time is working on yourself and not practicing a million times before you do it on stage like a competition. And it's like, it's definitely okay if you mess it up in the room while learning choring from a teacher, like doing a combo. I definitely had that mentality that if I don't get it right the first time, then I have such a bad class. But even if you're standing in the front and you make a mistake, no one's going to be like, oh my gosh, it's
fired.
It's totally fine.
I feel like Neil says all the time, if you're going to fail, do it at full time.
Yeah.
It's a place to practice. If you're supposed to be learning too, it's the time to make mistakes. And if you're not making them, maybe you're not putting yourself outside your comfort zone enough. Yeah, sorry, carry on. I got excited.
Yeah, so after like the first term, my first year for me was more learning and watching like from everyone in the room, especially like looking at the second years, how they are doing the class, how the teachers are approaching you. I was always afraid to ask questions before I went to full time. Like I was very like not very confident myself, and when I went to full time, I learned that it was okay to ask for help, ask questions, raise your hand in class. Don't tell yourself, oh no, I'll figure it out. It's better just to ask it straight off the bat, and then it comes way more easy than struggling in the back, being like, I don't even know what's happening. Yeah. So that was the main thing for me. I was like very unsure what to ask, but then when the terms went by, asking questions and being open to everyone definitely helped way more than just keeping everything to yourself. Yeah, and just being open-minded. I was very just like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that.
I remember that version of Izzy.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've definitely opened up after the 2 years to everyone in general as well, and teachers as well, asking questions, because I was always the one that was like, oh, I'm going to figure it out. No, I did not. Yeah.
Anna?
Yeah, we're just touching on that, like it's so okay to ask for help, and keeping so open-minded. Like you will have those days where it gets hard. Everyone has those days, even at a normal office job or something, like it's gonna be tricky, but you just have to keep an open mind. And my motto that I kind of stuck by this year was staying in my own lane, because everybody is here for a different reason, and everybody has their strengths and has their weaknesses, and almost we're seeing it now for grad, we're all coming together and we all have a special part to play, and it just fits like a jigsaw puzzle. But I think there's also a difference between staying in your own lane and not comparing yourself, but looking for others to take something from them. Like there's so
To be inspired by.
Yeah. There's so many people that I've met this year that I'm just like absolutely inspired by, and they're my best friends, but every time I watch them I might even cry, like they're just incredible. But taking that inspiration and then using that in your dancing, I know coming into full-time I was a very tech kind of Broadway jazz dancer, but now I'm hip-hopping, so that's crazy.
And getting called out in hip-hop classes.
Yeah,
Right.
so definitely keeping an open mind about that as well. Don't come in saying I'm a this or I'm a that or I can't do this. I came in with those mindset, but break it now before you come in. So in week 1 of term 1,
Oh, we're going to do that. Well, no, not this afternoon. We're going to do that in a hot minute.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, don't classify yourself as anything. I think Jacob Yar, he says you're not a hip hop dancer, you are a dancer, and dancers do everything. So just try and keep that open mindset there as well.
Beautiful. Thank you. Do any of you, I haven't prepped them, by the way. I said I'll ask some questions. I'll ask some questions and you'll give some answers. So this is all genuinely who they are. Does anyone have any questions for me? I mean, I feel like I've talked your earballs off about all the information. Yeah, Karen.
Just for the ones that have to like budget all that kind of stuff next year, you mentioned costumes. Now every studio is different. Either you hire them or you buy them, or
There is a costume, it's all outlined in the additional fees. It's all covered by that.
okay, cool.
Yep, so there's nothing, if it's not there, then we're not asking for it additionally.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah. So like I said, every studio is different.
Yep.
So
yeah.
I just wanted to.
And there's a mixture of some of the things that with that costume fee, it's how we apply that. There'll be some things that we purchase as a studio and then hire to the students, depending on what that is, because it mightn't be a cost that fits into the budget based on the costs that we pass on. But there'll be some things, say at the end of grade, there'll be some things that the dancers take home, and there'll be some things that we had or that we've hired for them to use or wear. Does that help?
Yeah.
Amazing. Anything else? Yeah.
I was gonna ask, are the grad show tickets on sale already? Or
Not yet.
When does that, like, when should we start?
It's a little bit dependent upon Ticketek, not going to lie,
Yeah.
but we are actually sending our assets off to Ticketek today, and they usually have a 10, look at you guys are like, yeah, it's usually a 2-week turnaround. We open the ticket sales to our student cohort first for our families, and then after that, we usually drop that on Instagram.
Yeah, I
Yep.
was gonna say, would it be like on the Facebook?
And I can share that on the Facebook page for them too.
All right,
Yep,
we'll keep an eye out.
100%.
Amazing. Cool.
Yes.
Is
Any?
it just the one show?
We don't do numerous nights, but what we usually do is if the evening show sells out, which it sold out in like 24 hours last year, we open a preview show earlier on the same day. So effectively the dancers do 3 shows in the day because they've got their tech and dress, and then they have a preview, and then they do the evening.
And it's the first and second years in the grad show?
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions about that or about, I don't know, maybe I've overwhelmed you with more information than you'll ever need. But this is really about setting you all up for success. So you start to think about some of those things now. And there'll be a lot more. Obviously, we've got massive terms ahead, but there are things you can start thinking of now that set you up for a successful start to next year. Thank you. Thank you, parents, for joining us. This is a moment where you're going to see Danielle for a free coffee card. So dancers will take a break from now till about 1:45. So like a 10-minute break, use the bathroom, eat something, eat the cookie that we gave you, stand up, stretch your legs, and then we'll keep Izzy for a little bit, and then Anna and a few more of the second years will join us.